I was missing Football Manager memes while scrolling through the timeline throughout my day. So thank you for that. And it's good to hear that you're sharing your knowledge with everybody else.
I just want to make 2020 a little easier for some people, especially the Football Manager community, and seem to be doing that.
I think everybody needs it. So good. Of course, Tommy, you've not said hello yet. Tommy is here as always.
I'm here as well. I'm a Football Manager virgin, and today I'm going to ask some very basic and dumb Football Manager questions to Liam, who is, of course, as you can imagine, quite an experienced player. So my first question, and this is for all the listeners who are not very familiar with this game that represents 85% of Rory's life and many other people's life. So the first thing I want to ask you is the dumbest question I could come up with is, how does the game work?
So the game, it's kind of self-explanatory in the sense that you are a football manager. You choose.
I told you it was a dumb question, right?
But I mean, you choose the team that you want to take over, and you can go anywhere. You know, if you want to go to the lower divisions in Azerbaijan, you can, or if you want to manage Manchester United or Real Madrid, you can. It's all encompassing. It's the training, it's the tactics, it's the scouting of players, and also the working with staff, and also as the years have gone on as well, it's the actual relationships that you build, the human relationships, or not so human relationships, but with your players, and the respect that they have for you. And it gives you, I'm primarily a football fan, and I am obsessed with football, and I'm obsessed with the science and the data that goes into games, and this gives you an insight into the game that you don't really get anywhere else. And in terms of like kind of football and soccer games, you got FIFA, which is it's kind of a pick up and play. There's not a great kind of data or tactics behind it. Whereas this breaks down the game in a way that no other game does, and it has a database of many hundreds of thousands of footballers, and professional clubs themselves use Football Manager to scout players, which is insane. It's just a video game. You'll probably seen it on the Tottenham documentary that was on Amazon, that Jose Mourinho had Football Manager up there. It is genuinely used as a scouting tool, which is great. A lot of Football Manager players will know that they found a player probably 5-6 years ago, and then looked 6 years later and gone, oh, I know him. I signed him. I knew he was going to be big. Yeah. That's just a testament to the kind of the quality of the scouting and the research that goes into the game.
So do you feel like your knowledge of football has actually increased ever since you started playing Football Manager?
Oh, 100%. Because I think one thing that you learn, especially I do take it quite seriously when I play.
It seems like everybody who plays it takes it very seriously.
And one thing you'll learn is that football's not just about getting 11 talented footballers on the pitch at the same time. And other sports it might be that case, but in this, it's a lot deeper than that. It's how they train. It's what you focus on in the training. It's what you tell them to do when they receive the ball. It's what you tell them to do when they haven't got the ball. It's about their personalities. It's about your relationship with them, and all of these many things come into one, and that is what happens on a football pitch. And every single thing that happens before you step out on the pitch influences how that game is played. And this is so detailed, and you get to influence every single aspect of football, and it's the closest thing to being a football manager.
So right now, when you watch a game and you see a player performing well, you're like, I know what the manager told him in the locker room, right? That is a thing. And there's also, I have this weird thing now where I look at, because of how Football Manager has advanced, there's a lot more about personalities and, kind of. So for example, Jack Wilshere is a free agent on this year's game, and everyone just seems to be jumping in to sign him on a free contract. And I'm like, no, Jack Wilshere is not playing for my club, because me and him are not going to see eye to eye. Yeah,
this is something like instantly, I think you start looking at players' injury track record a bit more, and you start looking at their personality. Like, you know what? I understand why no club have approached him yet, because I'm not signing him this summer. Like, you definitely. I think it makes you look at the game a different way. I think,
So a bit of background. How, before you get into the details with Roy, you're going to talk about Football Manager 21 that just came out. That's going to be the big part. But I'm just curious, what was the first version you played, and how did you find out about the game?
So the first version I played was Championship Manager 2001. So which is frighteningly almost 20 years ago. So
I love how you checked the clock and you were like, wow, 20 years ago.
So in England, after its release, it was in breakfast cereal boxes. It came, the demo version came in the cereal box. And we were a poor family when we grew up, so there was no chance that I was ever buying the actual game. And I remember getting the demo disc, and you could play one season of Championship Manager 2001 on this disc, and that just started my love for it. I went through Alexander.
Good choice.
They had Dean Ashton who had 20 finishing. He was unbelievable. He had Kenny Lunt.
You know, weirdly, this week I re-downloaded the game for a bit of a walk down memory lane between FM20 and FM21. I was like, I'll play that for a bit. The crew squad on that game was a very good squad.
Oh, it's absolutely, yeah. I won the Champions League with them when I was probably about 12 years old.
Yeah.
That team didn't need much managing. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, great. Like, as always with crew, we'll cover it, but a great lot of youngsters in that version, definitely.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for I couldn't have waited for a better answer than that. I think it's beautiful. I remember even in Italy, I don't know if there was some type of football manager, but I do remember the cereal boxes with a floppy disk, not a CD-ROM inside where the Disney games, Tarzan, that type of stuff. Football Manager, much better, it seems like. But what was the first thing, like when you started playing, what was the aspect that made you fall in love with the game?
What made me fall in love, and it is quite a geeky thing that it made me fall in love with it, was Championship Manager 0102 was just all text. It was just essentially just a large database of footballers. But what you could do, and I remember doing this probably 4 or 5 hours at a time, where I would genuinely just go on players and just scroll through players, because you got, like, they could be from anywhere. They could be like, you know, 4th division in Argentina, and you got the feeling that you were about to find a player that was special, that no one else in the world would ever find, because there was so many players on it, because it was such a simple game that you know, I remember just scouting people in Bulgaria, in all crazy countries, and finding unbelievable footballers somewhere, and that was 90% of the game for me, just finding really good players.
I think this is still one of my favourite aspects of the game, is the scouting. I absolutely love the scouting and trying to find out, I'm going to scout this country. Maybe this country will be the next key. I remember one of the years, like Saudi Arabia weirdly just had amazing players, like every team. And when you find that, you're like, I found a secret. I've cracked it. Like, I'll sign these players. Like,
yeah, on the new FM, I've got a left winger from Afghanistan who is just doing wonderful things for me, and you never lose that real buzz you get from finding someone who is just special and that no one else knows about.
Yeah, you'll still have to give me his name later. But anyway.
I've got you.
You were considering whether to reveal it or not. You were like, are you going to reveal the listeners? Maybe not. Maybe sometime.
Some of the followers of the account will know who I'm talking about.
All right. We've got a little trivia within the weekly topic.
Yeah, he's the Afghani Messi.
Okay. So I've got a few more questions. One, I was just wondering about a very technical thing. So you were talking about Jack Wilshere. You would consider his injury history, of course, to see whether you want to sign him or not, whether it makes sense. But what if the player gets injured in real life? He's not actually injured in the game, is he? He
would be, if he's injured before the game comes out. So, for example, when the full release of 21 comes out, Virgil van Dijk, for example, will probably be injured for the first season. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if he gets injured in real life while you're in the game, no, as soon as you start that game, that's your world, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. The universe is separate at that point. Yeah.
Nice. I'm actually, I might be getting into it. So this is my next question. I have 2 more. The next question is, talking to football fans, of course, if you talk to people who have no interest in football, they would have no reason to start playing this game. But I'm a football fan. I watch football games. It's my favorite sport. It takes a lot of my week. Why should I play Football Manager?
I think you should play Football Manager for the same reason I play Football Manager, is to understand the game more. Mm-hmm. And it's also, you know, I read a lot of books about the data of football and the science behind it. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Moneyball.
One of my favourite sports films, by the way.
Yeah, I watched that a few years ago with Brad Pitt, and It genuinely made me look at football differently, and I wanted to delve into football from more of a data perspective. And,
wow. Okay.
And all of that stuff, and I knew that there was only one way I could do that, and that was literally Football Manager, because it has all of that data. And if it doesn't have the data, you can hire staff who can get that data, and then you've got to hire staff who can accurately get that data. So that's why you should play. It makes you understand football from a whole different perspective.
But how much is it going to interfere with my life? How much did it interfere with yours?
You won't have a life.
No,
your life will be Football Manager.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I started a meme account for crying out loud. That's how my mind. And I'm just about to go into a Twitch stream after this. And my girlfriend sat in the other room, and I've not spoken to her for several hours because I was playing Football Manager before this. You have to make a decision. You either have a life or you have a life in Football Manager. I don't think we have part-time players in the Football Manager community. I think we have full-time managers.
I feel like the shortest stint I would do on the game is like 3 hours. 3 hours is like, I'll do a little bit of Football Manager, if you know what I mean. During lockdown, the hours I was clocking were unhealthy. Like, I looked at my total hours played on FM20, and I'm absolutely ashamed of that number. Like,
what was the number?
It was 1,700 hours that I spent.
1,860.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, there you go, nerds. Right?
I think it equates to about 100. I don't know the maths behind this, but I think it's about a third of the whole year.
Yeah. Mine came to 75 days. I checked.
75 days.
Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah. 2 months and a half playing Football Manager. All right. My last question before I leave it to the professionals to discuss FM21. Tell us, Liam, what was the biggest talent you discovered? And then when he finally came out, you were like, scouted that guy a long time ago.
It's tough. On FM21, I've played for about 9 hours so far.
Okay. Previous editions, even
in
your life.
On FM20.
No, even before. Like, what is one name that you remember scouting from a random country, and then years later you heard the name in the paper, and some big club were after him?
Well, I remember Carlos Tevez many years ago. Carlos Tevez in 2003.
Okay.
And in 2001 and 2002, Carlos Tevez and Javier Mascherano were actually free agents on Championship Manager 0102. Very few people will know that.
I did not know that. I'm going to go back on that later.
So I used to manage in the Spanish third division in Championship Manager 2001, and they didn't need the work permit to play in Spain because they were Argentinian. So I used to sign them there, and then the same as many FM players. Erling Haaland, who burst onto the scene kind of before he signed for Dortmund, but there were quite a few of us who have been aware of him for quite a while.
From Salzburg, we're like, look out for this guy. Look out for this guy. Yeah. Absolute machine. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I really enjoyed that. I feel like I finally get a better understanding of the Football Manager universe. So thanks, Liam. And now I'm going to leave the floor to Rory for the geeky part. For the real interesting part.
Here it comes. So to start, I just want to talk about what type of manager you are on the game, okay? So I usually go for the profile of youth development. I'm more of a suit kind of manager, try and maybe see myself as a bit of an Arteta, a bit of a Guardiola, not too much on the training ground, but trying to develop talent. What kind of manager do you try to be on the game?
I'm very much a tactician. Tactics are at the forefront of everything that I do. Yeah. That's the part of the game that I feel is the part of football that I feel is just essentially the most important aspect that you get right. It's about what those 11 players on the pitch know that they have to do in possession and out of possession, and attacking and defending. That is the most important aspect of what I do. So that's where a lot of my time is spent. In pre-season, the first pre-season when you start the game, for me is the most important part of it, because I'm kind of analysing the team itself and kind of how football will work with that team, and then also trying to tweak it so that it comes a little bit closer to my philosophy as well.
Nice. So you go through and analyse each player, analyse your strengths, your weaknesses, and
I like all my teams to play the same way. I became kind of enamored by possession football and kind of like the tiki-taka style of like Barcelona 2011. I remember watching Barcelona in 2011, 2012 against Man United in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
And I